Okay, we are live. Hi, everyone. We are continuing our Baby Babble series, and today I have a really special guest with me, Dr. Crystal Folta. Crystal and I met at Life University. You and your husband, you both graduated with Zach, right?
No, I graduated in March and John graduated in June.
Okay, so Zach and Crystal were kind of like on the same parts of school throughout, and then your husband John kind of caught up along the way. But I met Crystal through our little circle, our tight-knit circle of friends at Life, and I'm honored to have her as a friend. She is special in so many ways, but she started as just, my friend and kind of became my part-time doula through my pregnancy. Truly, she was pivotal in my success during pregnancy, just as a friend and as me being a first-time mom and her having a daughter at the time already, and then her magical belly fingers, of course, too, that we'll get into. But you were just such a bright light in my world. So it was really sad for us. Now I'm in Ohio, Crystal's in Seattle, so we're really far apart. So it's cool to reconnect here. But I'm just going to give a quick little bio of who Crystal is, what she does, and then we'll jump into the juiciness of this episode. It's all about the womb and connection and healing, and I'm really, really interested in this topic. I honestly don't fully know the depth of it, I guess. I've experienced some of the healing with you, whether that was unintentional or intentional, I'm not even really sure, but I've experienced it on some level, and I really, like I said, I'm super interested. So obviously, from Life, Crystal is a chiropractor. She focuses on women, babies, and PTSD. She is also a womb healer, which is what we're digging into today. And she also has two little babies, one new baby, and one little bit of an older baby. But Crystal, welcome to the series. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited about this. So I think I'm just going to jump right into some questions just so we can kind of get a clear understanding of what we're going to be chatting about today. So obviously we're talking about the womb, and I think that is a really unique and also complex topic for a lot of women. It can be very surface for some women, and it can be very, very deep for other women. So what does the womb represent to you?
So the womb in general it's a space and place of creation and the livelihood and the flame. It's where your flame sits. And so that's where the flame comes from. It comes from this beautiful place and space. And if you have previous trauma to that womb, and it overlies with the sacral chakra too. And so sacral chakra has a lot to do with creation and ties with family, ties with yourself, and money and career even. And so if you have issues in those fields, you can have interference with your womb in general. So that shows up for a lot of people in different ways. But so with the womb too, it is very much a female thing, and at the same time men have a womb too. So that's something that my very first womb healing was on a man. So that's where I discovered it. I had no idea, and it was really fascinating. And I just grew from there. So
Yeah. So the womb for men, is that something like um, supposed to be symbolic for the womb that they grew in, or physically a womb within inside of them?
yeah, so both. With the womb healing, we tap into the first thing we do is we check in to see how your energetic being is, how your flame is in your joy center. And to me, I'm a very visual person when I see different things. And so I see it as a uterus, and I love uteruses, I guess. So yeah, I see it as a uterus, and then it can look many different ways. And I've seen ones that look like they're covered in mud, ones that look like balloons, ones that look like they're just breathing in fire. And so I check into where you're at that moment. And then we basically create this space-time continuum, I guess,
Yeah.
the vortex where you tap into where you were in your mother's womb, because that's really where kind of your creation started in this lifetime. And so everything that you went through with the pregnancy with your mom, that ties into who you are today, and if you're carrying those ties with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so for men, that looks very much, they have um, different wounds. So it doesn't necessarily look like uterus to me. It's more images. But then when I tap into their mother's womb and then go through the life up until now, it kind of it looks many different ways. And so it shows up as these different areas of interference. And as I'm going through it, I'm seeing these things like how there's pain around money or different things like that. And so I'll see that, and they're like, yeah, I understand what you're talking about. So
Wow, that's so interesting. So obviously, men and women can both go through a womb healing. Is it like a one-time thing? Is it something that is continual, depending on kind of like the person's history? How does that really work?
yeah, so far I've only done it once on people, and that's been pretty successful. Um, and I think as my work grows, maybe it'll grow into some other things. But so a lot of what I do really is um, I go in and I clear all that energetic and junk and stuff that you brought in with you and that you've experienced over your lifetime, and basically rewrite that pattern for you. And just like in chiropractic, you have all these different emotional patterns, physical patterns, and chemical patterns that tie into your body and cause interference. That's kind of what we tap into with the room and clear that up until now and rewrite those patterns. And so it's very powerful. It's a 1 hour session. And so in that 1 hour, we just rewrite your entire life, which is pretty neat. But the healing obviously starts before and it goes on way after, because clearing those patterns is emotional on many different levels.
Yeah, very emotional. So is that something that a woman would do while she was pregnant, or something she should do before or after, or is it just kind of dependent on where the person's at in their life?
Yeah, so I really like to do it definitely before you're pregnant, because then, so you see you have these patterns of, um, say someone has a pattern with their mother, and their mother really didn't want a girl. And so she had this baby, and it was a girl, and it's this beautiful woman today, and now she's deciding to have a baby, and it ends up being a girl. And so she's clearing those patterns that she doesn't even necessarily know she has into this pregnancy, and transferring it onto that baby, who is now going to grow up with that pattern. So if we can interrupt that and get her to the point where she doesn't pass that pattern on to her child, then that's beautiful. That's what I love to see.
Yeah. So is that pattern something that is created from the emotional state and the chemical state of the mom? Or, I mean, I'm sure it goes well beyond that to the spiritual and the energetic and all of that, but where does that pattern start?
Yeah, so it starts with even conception, the way you were conceived. And so a lot of times people had um, this flawed conceptions, or I can't say that, but it's just like, oh, yeah, I'm pregnant, okay.
Yeah.
Or they've had lots of emotion around the fact of being conceived. So all of that emotion. So and I'm just going to talk a lot with chiropractic because it's very similar. And so when we conceive babies and we conceive them in a stress state, we have those stress hormones, that cortisol, the adrenaline, norepinephrine, that's all getting played into that chemical makeup of the fetus. And so the more stressed the mom is, the more stressed the dad is, when those two cells meet, the egg and sperm meet, then that creates that stressful baby. So yeah, clearing babies as soon as they're born is a great thing too. Um, I don't necessarily like, so I guess back to your previous question, I don't necessarily like to do is while a woman's pregnant.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I will do it, but I don't necessarily prefer it, just because I will do it before or I'll do it after on both of them, and it's just better that way, so then you can differentiate, because your energies are so intertwined when a baby's in the belly that it can become a little messy.
Yeah, one of my friends that I had on here before, she had said something about how cool it was when a woman's pregnant, and if you have a girl growing inside of you that, you know, you're holding at some point, like your grandchildren and their grandchildren, because your baby's born, obviously, with all their eggs and all of that. And she said that, and I know that scientifically, but I'd never had considered that before. And that was so, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, oh my gosh, I did carry my grandbabies somehow, you know, or part of my grandbabies, but that reminded me of that. And it's just the depth of the entire process of growing a baby. And I just think that the womb is such a sacred thing. And I wanna highlight it, and I want to talk about it so much so that women can get in touch and get in tune more with what's happening. Because, you know, it's sort of out of sight, out of mind for some, I would say. I can't speak for everyone, and that wasn't how it was for me, but I can see how, you know, even from deciding whether or not to find out the sex of the baby, for me, it was like, well, if I was supposed to know, my belly would be see-through. You know, that was kind of like how I felt about it. And it was it's such a sacred part of you, and it's a sacred, and it's not just while they're in utero. Like, that temporary time in your life of, you know, 9-10 months lasts an eternity, like truly an eternity. And it's so cool what you're saying, how those patterns can carry on. So it's not even just me that may have created something for my child, but also generations and generations and generations before me. So have you ever done healings like with mother-daughter or anything like that?
Yeah. So they're just beautiful healings in itself. I love mother-daughter ones because it really, when I'm doing it side by side, it's more, I'm clearing all the lineage, and it's a lot of grandma things going into it. And then I just see their bond becoming greater. So the mom and the daughter, they clear all the junk out, and they have this more beautiful, solid bond. And when I see that and I could feel that, I'm just like, it makes me cry sometimes. So
Sure. It's hard to separate from all that energy and that much emotion and life force, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So you talked about doing healings for men and women. So I guess I had a question written down of who can benefit from a womb healing, but it seems like everybody. And so does that mean that everyone are all the patterns necessarily patterns that need to be cleared, or are some of them beneficial? Like, how do you differentiate that?
Yeah. So again, just like in chiropractic, how we see areas of stuck energy. And so it's like the energy's there and it wants to be released, and it just doesn't know where it can be released. So you could have had, let's not put it on you. Someone could have had a fall, and they hit their left hip, and that energy comes in, and it either gets stuck in their left hip, it could be around their body, maybe it goes to their right shoulder, or it could just dissipate because your body is able to adapt to all these different things. And with that, we look and see, okay, where's this stuck energy, and does it want to be released? And if it does, then it does get released. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't get released. And that's something that, as I'm going through the session, I'm talking out loud if the person's okay with it, or if it's over the phone, I record it and send it to you, just talk over the phone at the end. And with that, it's partly I'm helping you do it, and at the same time, it's really your job to release these patterns. And are you stuck with them? Do you want to hold on to them? Do you not? It's a choice, and it's a beautiful thing to release them when that happens. And so a lot of them can be sexual trauma. They can be that's a lot of what I hear is sexual trauma, but mostly that is not even a bigger pattern. A bigger pattern is typically my mom doesn't love me and my dad doesn't love me. Like that's typically the deeper pattern behind everyone's issue. So it's one of the two or both of them.
Yeah, and how many people walk through life with those emotions not knowing where that was coming from or what that's connected to, or what that it could possibly be connected to the womb and birth and that whole process. I don't think that's something that most people connect. So I love hearing that. I think that's really, really important for people to hear and kind of reflect on and think like, oh, this makes sense. These are my parents. They created me. I grew in this womb, and I don't think that I even really considered the fact that some of those emotions with the relationship that you have with your family, whether it be your parents or your grandparents, you don't consider that connection through your lineage in that way. So this is all so interesting to me. And I wonder, I sit here and think, would a womb healing be different for me pre-pregnancy versus post-pregnancy? Or, help me understand.
Yeah, so it's definitely different. If we do it pre-pregnancy, you have just your patterns and your ancestral patterns, right? Post-pregnancy, you now have this this womb that expanded and had this baby in it, and then came back, and is that womb back to where it wants to be in its beautiful, natural, flowing state? Or was it ever in a natural, beautiful, flowing state? And yours is a beautiful, flowing womb in general. You just have that amazing mom ability. And after a woman is pregnant, though, she sometimes, even with myself, so I'll give myself as an example with this pregnancy. My first pregnancy with Amelia 6 years ago was like a cakewalk, and her birth was so easy. And then this one with Jude, my little white baby, he decided that it was going to, and it's a combination of many things. He was a boy. He was and I didn't know that throughout the pregnancy. And it was harder. It was a harder pregnancy. It was a harder birth. And I've never been depressed in my life. I had the worst postpartum depression. Up until just recently that I discovered that that's what it was. I didn't even know. I thought I was either going crazy or my hormones were nuts and all sorts of things. And so my womb was just, and I hadn't even done really many wombs since I had them. I thought I'd jump right into it because with the milk. Not the case. And so my womb wasn't back into the state of ease. And I don't know if it ever was. So that was definitely interesting to go through. And so I ended up having this spontaneous healing of myself about a week or two ago, and it completely changed everything for me. And now I really started to amp up my dreams again, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that all this energy was really amazing. So it's cool to see what energy got carried in through, and having a boy in a female body is a whole another thing in itself, and so that was a big part of the amazing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's like cutting out a little bit and my sound is going out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. I think it was like some kind of signal between my baby just woke up. Hold on, I'm gonna go get you.
Okay.
You want to say hi?
Yeah.
You haven't seen her in so long.
Oh my gosh, she's huge.
I know. She's a walking, talking girl, huh? Remember Crystal? Yeah. Did you sleep? She's just like, here. Hello, Crystal. So you cut out just a little bit. So did you say that you had a healing session with yourself? Or what did you say about just recently, a couple weeks ago when you started up again? I couldn't hear that part clearly.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Am I cutting out now?
No, I just couldn't hear. I just had to turn my volume up.
So you were talking about just even a couple weeks ago. I couldn't tell if you said you had a healing session with yourself or something had happened to where you started doing sessions again. Can you do a womb healing for yourself? Or is that even?
Totally didn't realize I could wound heal myself. I was like, oh, I gotta find someone else to do it. And I've been like researching all these different wound healers in the world. And I'm thinking I'm having to travel to Hawaii and see this lady down there. And then all of a sudden I was in this like fit of rage, and it like spontaneously went into that. And yeah, so I think that eventually I will, and I mean, as this work is so new too for me, I'll eventually teach them how to do it for themselves and to do it for their children. So I think that'll be something that will be in the future once I develop it and learn how to do it more too. So
yeah, that's beautiful. I'm right there with you with postpartum. Something that I don't think I realized for a long time, and I didn't understand fully what I was going through. I thought it was just, I think as most women do, like this is just what my life is, and it's just how I feel today. And how does our relationship with our womb, like, let's say someone has never heard of a womb healing, someone has never experienced a womb healing. How does our relationship with our womb affect pregnancy, affect birth, affect postpartum? How is that connected, and what can that mean?
So if we're disconnected from our womb, it can mean a lot of things. If we have womb trauma or a collapsed womb, it can give us a harder pregnancy. It can be more difficult to tap into that energy to really connect with the baby that's in our belly, or even after the baby's born to connect with them. And that's a lot of where postpartum depression comes in. That and I mean crazy amounts of hormones. So yeah, just all of that, and then on top of it, even if we don't have children, connecting with our own mother and not being able to do that is something that that really plays into that.
Yeah. I think I get Daddy. I think she's eating. That makes total sense. It really does. And I think I even had a moment of that. I was pretty early on in my pregnancy, and I had this emotional breakdown at Dr. Fort's office. It was like before a shift one day, and I went in, and I think I was probably only like 12 weeks pregnant, maybe. There was no way I was more than 12 weeks pregnant. I mean, I wasn't showing anything. There's Daddy. And I just had all these emotions. I showed up at the office, and I was fine, and then I sat down in front of Wade, and I literally just started bawling. And these words started coming out of my mouth that I hadn't even like thought of yet. It was just like spilling out of me, and I was talking about like my fears that I had, and I felt like I wasn't connecting with the baby that was inside of me, and I knew it was too early. I knew I wasn't supposed to feel the baby yet. I knew there was nothing I could do as far as like, appointment with anyone. Like I knew it was too early to like expect anything to feel physically different, but I was having all these fears about like, why am I not connecting with this being inside of me? And then I said, I think I need to connect with my mom. Like I think I'm feeling disconnected with my own mom. And this is something that just innately like kind of spilled out of me. So it's so interesting that you say that. And it makes total sense to me now, like the disconnection that I think I did have. And then throughout my pregnancy, I did make sure to connect with her more and kind of talk with her more, because I think we just had this relationship that was like, you check in and everything's good, but I needed more of that maternal bond to be able to kind of tap in and create that with my own child. So it's really interesting. So maybe, I mean, I'm interested in healings, and I know you're in Seattle and I'm in Ohio. So what would that look like for someone that's long distance to be with you?
Yeah, so firstly, we should definitely set one up. But what it looks like is, and I did them a couple times, and I really like it. It could be one of several ways. So I can do it and record it and send it to you, which I haven't had that option because most people like to be live on the phone. And now that I'm 3 hours different, it's difficult for some people. But what we do is we just set up a time. I love that. We set up a time and we connect and I just tap into your room and then tap into your mom's room, and it has been as powerful as it was as if we were in person.
So the physical touch isn't necessary.
No.
Awesome. That's so neat. This is so amazing to me, and I can't find the words to express like how sacred this really is and how important this is, you know? Oh, look, someone's commenting. I did it on the phone. Oh, what do you mean? What? Do you want to go back to sleep? So Megan said I did it live on the phone. It was wild and incredible having this do this. That's so cool. I definitely want to do that. I would love to do it live rather than recorded, but I'm glad to know that that's possible. Is there anything that you need to know about a person before you can like tap in? Is there something that you exchange with them or something ahead of time?
No. So some people like to focus on things. Some people have, especially sexual trauma or birth trauma, that they want to really focus on. And we go through that, and I see that energy, and I see lots of other stuff that goes into it. And is that really the root of the problem? Is it not? And usually it's not. Usually it's a lot more than just a sexual problem.
Just digging for gold. You still there?
Yeah.
She is still a milk baby. She is not interested in letting it go yet. So we're getting through that in many different ways right now. But I definitely want to link all the ways to get connected with you. I'm definitely going to schedule one, and then maybe I can do a post or a blog or something about my experience. Because I know how important this is. I know the depth of the womb. I just didn't know the depth of like what you did. I wanted to not only learn it for myself, but I wanted to share it with the community that I'm building as well. But I don't think there's many people like you, and I think you're a total gem, and I'm so honored to know you and to be connected with you. And you really were such a solid, you were like part of the foundation, of my entire experience in Georgia. And I say all the time, like, how lucky I am that I had Shane in Georgia, but I don't think I've been able to express like how many things and how transformative that was for me. And you're definitely, you and your family are part of what made my pregnancy and experience so good. I remember in my baby shower in Georgia, it was a surprise shower, and I was pretty pregnant, and I was just having some discomfort, and I don't even think you were doing the womb healings yet, because that's why I said I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but I've experienced, like, you've obviously adjusted me. You were my chiropractor at times, so, but I was having this discomfort, and we were outside, and it was hot in the summer, and you were like, well, do you want me to work on you a little bit? And I was like, sure. So I just sat down in this lawn chair, and I don't even know, it was seriously like 15 seconds at most. And I was just completely like eased of all discomfort. I don't even really know what you did, but you have magic hands and you have magical energy. And I want everyone to know that they can access you, even if it's from Ohio or from Germany or wherever they are. I want them to have access to you. So thank you for sharing what you do. And I hope to see your little new baby soon. I haven't met him yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's here on class too.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to share about the chiropractic or the womb, the pregnancy, anything along those lines?
Yeah, so I guess just don't judge where you're at. I mean, I know you said Folta too, and just know that everything is a journey, and definitely um, you are where you are, and you're meant to find this feeling, and you're meant to find it, and you're meant to find chiropractic, and you're meant to find it, and you're meant to be a mom exactly when you're meant to be a mom or not, and that's all part of what this life is, and um, part of growing is not judging yourself and not judging where you're at, and really coming to parents with, okay, I need this help now, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I got folks. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. I love you so much. I'll connect with you to add links and stuff to here, and then I'll blog about this conversation later. But we'll definitely connect some people. Hi, Lauren. Lauren's on here. Good friend of mine. She wants to connect too. I think, oh my gosh, you guys would love each other. But thank you so much for doing this with me, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, love you.
Say bye.
Hi, Michelle.
I love you. Say I love you.
Goodbye.
What about a blow a kiss? You know, blow a kiss? No? Okay. I'm sure she love you so much.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.